All right, good evening, everybody. This is your Facebook meteorologist, Sean Bagden here, and we are live today to talk about the potential winter storm that is going to be rolling through the Intermountain West starting on Monday, especially across Idaho, and then moving into Tuesday, Wednesday, and even Thursday across Wyoming, Colorado, and into the Black Hills as well. So we're going to break it down from accumulations, wind, and even down into the valleys, because the valleys is the tricky part of the forecast. We already have gone over potential snowfall accumulations for the mountains already. It is looking pretty likely we're going to see over a foot of snow for the Tetons up into Togety Pass, as well as into Yellowstone and the not Beartooth Range, the Bighorn Range. Bighorn Range could be the big winner out of this one, especially with what we have been looking at as of recent. And we're going to break that down for you right now. If you do have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment box below. Once I'm done going through the logistics of everything, I'll make sure to go over those. I do know we have a couple of people asking about Green River, Wyoming. We'll make sure to go over that and the whole of the I-80 corridor as well. So this is as we stand right now. You can see we're under a big warm ridge of high pressure here across the Intermountain West right now. And this is going to be sliding off to the east as we move through time here. You can clearly see our big trough dipping in right here across the Pacific, and it's going to be entering, this is the NAM, yep. This is going to be entering into the United States likely tomorrow afternoon, and then we're going to have some very good model data coming in on the system, and we're going to get a really good hold of it. But as we go through time, this is a pretty good comparison we can use right here. As you can see, we roll through time, these colder temperatures aloft are going to start to move in. This is the coldest air of the season that Wyoming has seen so far, as well as pretty much everywhere in the Pacific Northwest here. As you can see right here, I'll actually zoom in for you guys just so you can see what I'm talking about here. We'll get a little closer into Wyoming. And what we're looking at is this kind of middle blue color right here. That's going to bring your snow levels down to about 7,000 feet or so. That's what we've seen in the last two wintry events that we've seen here in the past month or so. And as you get into these darker blues here, that's going to bring it down into the Jackson Hole level, almost into the Star Valley as well, the higher areas of the Star Valley. That decreases those snowfall levels, snow levels down to 6,000 feet or so, and then down to 5,000, maybe even 4,000 feet as we start getting these purples in here, which is pretty much the entirety of the state of Wyoming. So we're going to be closely watching those snow levels as we go through time here. And as you can see, coming into, what time is this right here? Tuesday. This is about midnight on Tuesday. Early morning hours on Tuesday. We have right now snow falling potentially as long as we have moisture in place across western Wyoming, Jackson Hole, and into the Star Valley, Teton Valley of Idaho right there. But let's start from the beginning. We're going to zoom this out right now. We're going to zoom this out to the US for you guys, and we're going to bring this down to the surface MSLP map, or the pressure map. This is very important when it comes to the development of these storms, especially across the Intermountain West here, as wind patterns have a lot to do with how much snow falls where. As you can see, this is about as far out as the model goes right here. This is midnight Tuesday as well. You can see an area of low pressure starting to develop here, right on that Colorado-Nebraska border here. And this is going to have some big implications as to how much snow falls where. as you generally get a very intense banding happening on the northwestern side of these rapidly deepening low pressure systems, which this one is expected to be. This is likely that band to the northwest of the system that we're talking about that would bring those intense snowfall rates. And as we saw on that temperature map, we're going to compare those right here. We'll likely be seeing snow out of that intense band there. So wherever that band does set up, even in the lower elevations, I would not be surprised to see double-digit snowfall totals. Once you get a little further back to the Tetons, it gets a little more complicated, but we're going to stick with the synoptic stuff for now, the larger scale stuff that's easier to forecast at this point. And then we'll get into the nitty gritty here. But likely seeing heavy snow, potentially a 10+ inch band of snow into the lower elevations down to about 6,500 feet or so through the Bighorns, likely Riverton, down through South Pass here will likely all be within this band of heavy snow if this does pan out the way this model is showing. This is a short range model, so definitely this is possible, but we don't have the system on shore yet, so we don't have the most accurate model data quite yet. We'll likely be talking about that on Tuesday morning, maybe Monday night, something like that, and we'll be talking about exact totals. This is just in general right now, but we will have some very moist air getting wrapped up into the northern side of this low and likely getting pushed into the Bighorns. We'll look at wind speeds here up at this level here, and you can see, I'll actually zoom in, you can see those general east to west winds coming around the northern side of the low here, straight into the Bighorns. This makes me think that the Bighorns are going to be a big winner out of this storm, especially since they're on the northwestern side. The storm's band on the northwestern side, or deformation band, is going to be stationary over this area for a long time. As that system does move off to the northeast, the band likely will be affecting the same areas for a large majority of the time. This storm's going to be through the area, so you definitely could see some 2+ foot totals here across the Bighorns, maybe even a foot down into the Sheridan area there. Would not be surprised if we're able to get that cold air to wrap in, although that might be a little bit on the far-fetched side of things. The certainties lie in Lander, Riverton, the Bighorns, and South Pass. At this point, would not be surprised to see a large band of 10+ inches of snow there with some pretty significant travel impacts, especially if this does happen overnight. This banding feature sets up around midnight on Tuesday, as we're seeing right now. This could change with time, but that banding feature does tend to set up around midnight. That's been consistent with a lot of models right now. So definitely have to watch out if you're traveling in those areas overnight on Tuesday. Just given what we're seeing here, we'll likely get that heavy banding of snow. The other thing we have to have a quick look at here is going to be those temperatures aloft as we get a little further out. So we're going to go to some more long-range models here and have a quick look at that. You can actually see on the GFS here even better that east to west flow going into the Bighorns there. That is big time snow you're likely seeing in the Bighorns. We'll give you a potential exact total here in a quick second. That gets a little more advanced, calculating snowfall ratios and all that. Let's get up into western Wyoming now. And this right here is actually probably going to happen as this low passes by. This is going to be a back-end event likely for the Tetons. We'll probably see some steady light snow through the day Monday, well, the afternoon Monday into Tuesday night, or Monday night into Tuesday morning. But then once the low passes by, winds start turning out of the north and northeast. This causes problems for the Tetons here. This sets up a very favorable flow for upslope snow banding features to develop along the Tetons. This likely also includes areas like the Grand Targhee Ski Resort as well. They're going to be very favored with this wind direction here, pushing that moisture up into the Tetons through the morning and afternoon hours on Tuesday, maybe even into Tuesday night as well, as moisture wraps around this low and just slams into the mountains. And that moisture won't be allowed to go anywhere until it's all wrung out. So definitely a significant back-end snow event here for the Tetons, potentially the Star Valley, depending on upper level temperatures. We're going to have a quick look at that in a second here, as well as the Teton Valley of Idaho. So let's have a look at those temperatures now that we do have a chance to do so. And as you can see, we'll likely have snow falling, especially across the upper reaches of the Star Valley. So like Afton is going to be getting into some snow here with these upper level temperatures. Maybe even Alpine will probably see heavy snow falling in the Teton Valley if this is the case as well. But once you get up toward that Ashton area, a little bit up towards West Yellowstone, your flow does become a little less favorable for this upslope flow event to be occurring, as it's more parallel to the mountains and less perpendicular. But definitely Afton, Alpine, up into Victor, potentially even up in towards Driggs as well. We'll likely see heavy banding of snow here. Salt River Pass as well. Definitely a chance at some pretty significant impacts at the end of this event here. And again, as this low continues to pull away, you get an even more perpendicular flow to the mountains here, especially across the Salt River Range as well. We'll likely start picking up the totals here in the Salt River Range. And as you can see, we start getting winds even into the northern Tetons, Yellowstone here, coming east to west. So that'll likely turn on Jackson Hole upslope event as well. Likely up into Moran, seeing snow. We'll see heavy snow bands starting to set up into Yellowstone too, with this sort of flow as well. And with these very cold temperatures aloft, would not be surprised to see it down into all elevations at this point. Even a little bit of backside snow could be possible in Idaho Falls if this is the case, which is very rare for this time of year to see potentially banding snow features in Idaho Falls. But it's certainly not out of the realm of possibility just looking at this due northwesterly flow running into the Salt River Range. Definitely thinking the Bighorns will be the winner out of the front side, the main system, and the back side of the system. This northwesterly flow is certainly favoring areas from Victor south towards the Salt River Pass there, or the Salt Mountain Pass, whatever you call that. It's something salt. But definitely the Salt River Range there looking quite interesting in terms of snowfall totals with this wind pattern that we're seeing here. And this is actually going to continue until we see ridging shut this off. This will entrain dry air in aloft, and we'll likely see snow shutting off as well, clearing up skies before our next system comes through. But we're only talking about this system today, or otherwise this would get extremely confusing. So let's break down totals. That's what everybody wants to know. Oh, and while I'm here, let's talk about I-80 as well in terms of where we're going to be seeing snow. Yes, we're going to be seeing snow on I-80. When is this going to be beginning here? We're likely going to be seeing that as part of the back end of this storm. just due to the fact that the cold air does have a harder time reaching its way down into southern Wyoming where I-80 is. And since the low is right here, you're likely seeing moisture and warmer air starting to get pulled around the low, so it'll be a little bit harder to get snow the further south you are in Wyoming. But cold temperatures aloft will likely win out here across the I-80 corridor, likely seeing snow, rain change to snow from west to east across the state as the cold air surges through the I-80 corridor from the Utah-Wyoming border all the way through the Nebraska border here. But likely starting to see snowfall here around probably 10 p.m. on Tuesday here on the backside of this event. So 10 p.m. Tuesday, and we'll likely get a very short window of snow across the I-80 corridor, but it likely will be impactful, especially since we'll be seeing rain on the front end, and we're going to see a rapid drop in temperatures. That's going to cause a flash freeze to occur on the roadways, especially since we're not using salt here in Wyoming. We'll likely see flash freezing on the roadways, especially I-80. That's going to be a big one. All the highways heading up to Jackson through the Salt River Pass here, likely going to be seeing a flash freeze, especially since surface temperatures are so warm. Even if you do start as snow, we'll likely see that snow melt on impact early on while we wait for those road temperatures to cool down. And once they do, we'll likely see that early season flash freeze develop. And we'll have to be very careful on the roads at that point. So definitely going to be seeing some snow down here, likely a couple inches, 2, 3, 4 inches across the I-80 corridor here, probably more once you get up towards Elk Mountain, but nothing they haven't seen before. And if we're looking at the potential for wind during this event through the common wind corridor here, it's likely not going to be too bad for Wyoming standards. We're likely going to be seeing maybe winds in the 25 to 30 mile an hour range, but nothing ridiculous. Nothing we haven't seen out in these areas where we normally see those hurricane force gusts during these deepening storms. Of course, that may change as well since we are a little bit early on, but that's just the early thoughts. Let's go over how much liquid the storm is supposed to drop, and then we'll open it up to questions and all that if you guys do have any. But yes, here we go. We're going to go on through time here, and this is at the end of the storm. How much liquid is this storm supposed to drop? Well, models have been very consistent between 3/4 of an inch up to about 1.5 inches in some areas. This one is coming in a little bit drier than some runs have been, but we've generally been in this range. This is just the low end of the range. And you can see all these modes that we were talking about. This right here, right through the center of Wyoming here, going through Riverton, South Pass here. Here's the Bighorns. This isn't the best resolution, so it doesn't pick up the topography too well, but the Bighorns are right around in here. This is that banding feature that's going to be stationary, virtually stationary with the way this low is tracking. This could be our high-end snowfall right here, at least with the front end. And then that is that heavy back-end snow from Victor all the way down towards the Afton area here that we were talking about as well, with that northwesterly flow kicking in behind the system for a pretty good duration, almost 24, 30 hours or so. So I could even see a little bit more precipitable water happening than this. But the hard part here is going to be forecasting how much snow is going to fall out of this. I generally like looking at this because you can kind of alter your thinking on how much snow could fall based on what parameters you do have available. But let's have a look over in this Bighorn, more populated area, the Bighorn down into Riverton here, South Pass. You definitely get a lot of people commuting around in these areas, so it's probably best that we talk about that first. And then we're going to head on over to Star Valley, Teton Valley, the Tetons, and Jackson Hole as well. But looking over in this area, we definitely need to have a look at the dynamics in play here across the area in order to get a good hold on how much snow is going to accumulate. This right here, the red and the green lines, that is showing you how moist the atmosphere is. When the red and the green lines are touching, that means your atmosphere is completely saturated. It cannot get any more moist than it is at this point. So that shows you we're very efficient at making snowflakes at this point. We do have a layer in the favorable region for the growth of dendrites, or the most favorable flake at producing higher snowfall rates and accumulating efficiently. And we also do have light winds, so our snowflakes are not going to get ripped apart on their way down. So in this case, I would be expecting about, probably 15, 20 inches to 1 inch of water in this case across this area. But you do have marginal surface temps, especially in the lower areas. So I might go closer to 15 down there, especially in the Riverton area, where you're a little bit lower. So if you're looking at that and you use that logic, with this map right here, 15 to 1 ratio. Let me break out the calculator here and we'll give you a pretty good estimate of what we could see, at least with this model depiction in the Riverton area. You'd be looking at about 10 inches of snow, just like we were saying, double-digit totals up and down this corridor here from the Bighorns all the way down through South Pass and Riverton here. Likely going to be seeing those 10 plus inch totals. Looking up towards that South Pass area there, you get up closer to, or a little bit higher. There we go, 0.93. There we go. And you got 0.93 and then upwards of an inch and a quarter, inch and a half up here in the Bighorns. So in that case, you're probably looking at about 2 feet of snow in the Bighorns there, likely pushing 1.5 feet down here in South Pass as well. Again, the great news for this is there's not going to be a lot of wind coming with this storm, at least as we see it now. So you're going to be getting a lot of snow in this band right here, wherever this does set up, likely double digits. But we're likely not going to be seeing those near blizzard conditions we usually see out of these events out this way. Looking over towards the Salt River Pass, going out towards the Upper Star Valley, going through Afton. We're also talking about Alpine here, going through Victor and Driggs as well. Let's have a look at the dynamics we have right here through our sounding. And we'll get a good idea of what kind of totals we can be looking at here. Actually, I don't think I was sharing that with you the last time. Sorry about that, guys. I'm going to explain this one more time for you. So the red and the green lines that you see right here, that is how saturated things are in the atmosphere. This, again, looking very good for being efficient at producing snowflakes through the column here, all the way up to about, 5 kilometers or so. And again, light winds aloft, but you do have that prevalent west to east flow here running perpendicular into the Salt River Range and the southern Tetons. We're likely going to be seeing efficient snowfall accumulations here, and we're likely going to be seeing colder temperatures than the National Weather Service is saying, so we are going to be a little bit higher in terms of snowfall totals, especially given this flow pattern we're seeing here. Definitely, if I was making a forecast for snowfall ratios here, I'd be saying about 20 to 1. Probably 25 to 1 even up in the higher elevation, so above 7,000 feet. Anywhere below that in the Star Valleys and Teton Valleys, we're probably looking closer to 15 to 1, just given how warm the surface temperatures are. Let me show you this back over here. So let's have a look at totals given that logic right here. So looking in those higher elevations, we're likely looking at a 20 to 25 to 1 ratio here. Let's bring out that calculator again. 0.86. We're likely talking probably 15 to 20 inches above 7,000 feet here in the northern Salt River Range up into the southern Tetons here. Would not be surprised with that. Once you get a little bit lower here, you start looking at more like a ½ inch, a quarter inch. That's what I'm kind of seeing here. So we'll split the uprights here and go 0.45 and 1. Probably looking at a widespread what is that, 5 to 7 inches here across the Teton Valley of Idaho, especially the southern Teton Valley into the Star Valley. Afton and Schmoot have the potential to be seeing a little bit more than that 5 to 7 inch range, probably being in those higher totals, likely probably 7 to 9, maybe even double-digit totals in those areas, especially up by Smoot. And then Teton Pass again, we're easily going to be exceeding a foot up in Teton Pass, potentially even up in Togety Pass as well. And the Bighorns, good luck if you're traveling in the Bighorns, that's for sure. Probably going to be seeing that 2 feet of snow about up in the Bighorns there. So going to be very interesting to be tracking this system. We are going to be having updates regarding this system coming probably daily for you guys as things change and we get a more realistic idea of what is expected out of the storm, especially once it comes on shore. I am driving to Denver tomorrow night, so I probably won't be as active in answering questions like I was today. But we'll definitely be with you guys on Monday and Monday night, the night before the storm really starts ramping up. And we can help you guys out with any questions you might have. Even Derek will be online, hopefully. So he's my partner that we work together. So it'll be fun to track this one with you guys. And we will be doing a in-depth road condition forecast for you guys written up probably on Monday, just so you know what you guys are going to be dealing with when you're going to work, school, or just trucking across the I-80 corridor, I-25 corridor here. So if you guys don't have any questions, have a great night, and we will see you in the next live.